Is it just me, or Reddit is a bit racist to Indians? You find racists everywhere, I'm afraid, including on Reddit.
I've not seen anything like that.
But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. The best ways to deal with it is to call it out and explain why it's not acceptable, or report the comment and hopefully Reddit will delete it. I think the other day there was a post on Amy the Asshole that was along the lines of AITA for telling my Indian friends they're the reasons I won't date Indian dudes. As expected, she was NTA to most people, and everyone was hopping on the Indian hate train with their own stories about how one time an Indian looked at them funny or something. Then some guy from our ABC Desis posted the exact same post. Just replace Indian with black. As expected, he was the bad guy and got crucified by the comments before getting the post taken down, and I'm
pretty sure banned.
Can't speak on that specifically, but Reddit certainly has its double standards with regards to whose rights they claim they care about. Not just India but whole of Asia. And you would get those stereotypical jokes about every race unless you're black. BCZ people get really offended when you joke about that, but when you joke about Asians, that's just a joke, bro. You're not overreacting.
And they're more than a bit racist. Racism against Asian people in general is somehow more
acceptable than against other minorities. And there's plenty of that, too. I really don't know why one form of racism registers in their brains as bad, but others register as fine. I'm sorry you have to see it everywhere. I do my best to make people uncomfortable if they say racist the shit. Maybe they won't change their minds, but they, and anyone around, will know that society is becoming less tolerant of intolerance. All jokes aside, people have been racist towards Indians,
Arabs,
Pakistanis,
etc. since before the internet even existed.
They used to lump us all together into one group and refer to us as Gandhi. They used to make the accent that Apu has from The Simpsons whenever they talk to me. I clearly remember being denied a game of basketball in a park when I was young for being a Gandhi, as they called me. I asked about someone that was playing in the same game because he looked just like me and I wanted to know why he could play and I couldn't. They said since he's really good at basketball they accept him as one of them. And of course he says it with the Apu accent. Was he really good at basketball though? Definitely was. Couldn't even argue about that shit if I wanted to. He had the handles that Kyrie Irving has, and the three-pointer skills of Kevin Durant. But does it justify their racism towards me? Nope. Definitely doesn't.
I remember being in junior high school and trying to confuse the class into thinking I was white.
When the teacher asked where I was from because I was scared of the teasing that would follow if I told the truth. No teasing followed though on that particular day, so it worked as they were legit confused. Even my brother said he was white as we were in the same class because he went through it too. This was a tense moment too. Sweat rolling down my face from anxiety and everything. Teacher wouldn't let it go because she knew I was full of shit since it was obvious from my skin tone and features. So she kept asking and inquiring and I kept making up lies about how white I am until she stopped and finally let it go. Students didn't even know what to do or say. They didn't even laugh, they just stared at me. I remember getting my quarters snatched out of my pocket and physically kicked out of an arcade by a small group while being called a Gandhi. Gave them bullies the middle finger outside the door though, but they laughed it off because I stuck up the wrong finger first by accident.
Am I really surprised that there is some sort of collective acceptance on the internet for being
racist towards Indians? Honestly, I am not, because that collective form of racism was always there in people's minds long before the internet even existed. It's just continuing over the internet. That's all.
Reddit is extremely racist to all Asians.
I think racism towards all Asians is overlooked. All over the web and IRL too. A lot of people are only aware of and fight to support black people. When race and diversity is mentioned, a lot of people will only think of black people, women, Muslims, and maybe someone in a wheelchair if you're lucky. I'm sorry, you are on the receiving end of this abuse and that so many others stand by and say nothing.
It may not mean much, but I make a point to stand up for and discuss Asian inclusion and prejudice.
Especially as I noticed a huge silence gap in that area.
For some reason, racism against Asians,
especially Indians, seems socially acceptable in the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. And Reddit happens to be majority people from these places, aside from the European chunk. I think one of the major problems is that in regions like Europe and North America, which I think make up the majority of Reddit, most people know nothing about India or its people and culture. When I myself think about India,
first things that come in my mind are Apu from The Simpsons,
Raj from Big Bang Theory, and Bollywood. All of these are stereotypes, and I'm sure they don't showcase at all what cultural diversity actually exists in India. But as a German myself, there is not much else we learn. So hear about India. As an advice, if you see something racist on Reddit towards Indians, try to tell them how it actually is. Some may listen, some may not, but that the internet, and people that call Indians curry boys, rapists, etc., are in my opinion just dumb racists. But it's hard to discuss with dumb people, so don't put too much energy in it. You know, I mentioned this to my partner when I saw a post in roast me from a guy in Indian. All the comments were, well, they made me feel a little uncomfortable. Not all out racist, but the only things being joked about was things to do with the fact the guy was from Indian. I'm sure you can guess what I mean. I just honestly felt, if this was a black person, they wouldn't have made the same stereotypical jokes, or at least not so unashamed frequently. Maybe I am reading too much into it. IDK. I feel like some people only think you can be racist towards black people and all other races. Asian, Chinese, European, etc. You can say what you want. Indian here and yeah, some Redditors are. It never bothers me, but it is still quite annoying being called a tech scammer. Yeah, man. Reddit is a bit racist to Indians and people are not ready to accept it. And several Reddit Indians are self-loathing, hate their own kind type idiots, as if it makes them woke or liberals. At every post in any sub criticizing India, we see an Indian begging for upvotes with "can confirm" comment. No country is perfect and all have problems to be addressed. To all other comments suggesting Reddit is racist to all other races, that doesn't justify the racism to Indians. It's just running away from actually acknowledging it. Well, us Indians are perhaps as racist as anyone out there. We hate our own kind tbh. Edit. A lot of peeps here in the comments think I am some kind of self-hating Indian to post the above comment. Well, you just proved my point. Racism is everywhere and it is deep ingrained in every one of us in one form or the other. It is not justified in any form, but then it's quite hard for me not to criticize people who won't let their house help maids to sit with them at the dining table, have a cup of tea, and then expect equality outside. No one deserves a privileged position, but we all should be respectful. From my perspective, Reddit and Western society as a whole is quite racist to Indians. And I would certainly reference the Bobs and Vagina memes. Obviously that photo on its own is very funny. And there is a rash of men from non-English speaking countries trying to flirt with women using an aggressive word salad. I totally understand the humor of this meme and have referenced it many times. However, people even take this meme too far. I had an Indian professor once who offered to help me through some tough concept if I stayed after class.
This absolute fuck boy who sits next to me whispers, he's gonna make you show him Bob's and Vagine.
Which really just pissed me off. Why is it okay for you to imply our professor is a sex pest? And why do you feel okay being racist about it too? Like I've had so many white dudes show up in my inboxes for dating sites and social media being total creeps. But that's accepted as a fact of life. Not all men are like that. Some Indian dude does the same thing in broken English. And every Indian gets a reputation as the real pervs. It rubs me the wrong way. It's the media. I absolutely hate when people blame the media for the world's problems. But in this case I think it's appropriate.
I can only speak from an American POV.
There are 1,380,004,385 people living in India. But we are constantly fed harmful stereotypes about Indians. And white people love our perceived superiority.
Happens the most when any positive news emerge from India.
Suddenly racists want to stereotype India,
possibly the most diverse country,
into one sweeping generalization that they want to wish upon. Just everybody. My younger cousin has BLM stuff all over his room and calls white people colonizers. But regularly does Indian accents and says that Indian men are gross. I give him a pass because he's young, but still. Indians and East Asians are the final frontier of casual racism, and now from what I can tell, they're the only two groups where it's for some reason still fine to be casually racist too. No clue why.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.